Real people, inspiring stories, living legends. Award-winning talk show. Trevor Blackman now.
Now, alas, am I born for this, to wear this slavish chain, deprived of all created bliss through hardship, toil, and pain. How long have I in bondage lay, and language to be free? Alas, and must I still complain, deprived of liberty? That was an extract from the poem O Liberty and Slavery by George Moseph Horton, one of many poems that explore the African American history and culture often read during their Black History Month in February. But taking over now, and rightly so, the poetic mantle to provide his contribution to our Black History Month shows this month is friend of the show and poet The Lantern Carrier. How are you, sir?
I'm very good indeed, sir. Very, very good.
Good to see it. Now, we are going to talk about Black History Month, but firstly, the backdrop you have there, what is it? It's beautiful.
They're bird drawings by a visionary seer, a man called Sri Chinmoy, who is my spiritual mentor. And you might say he was the 20th to the 21st century Renaissance man. He did many different things in art and painting. He tried to show that spirituality wasn't an escape from the world, but a melding and a blending into life, because the creation and the creator are one. So he did weightlifting, he did writing, poetry, paintings, traveled around the world giving peace concerts. But going back to the bird drawings, bird is a symbol of the soul. It's freedom, liberation, and many mystics have drawings which include birds, symbolizing the freedom of the soul. We are free in a spiritual sense. We shackled in the physical, but in the spiritual sense, we're free beings. We come from delight, we live in delight, and at the end of our journey's close, to delight, we shall return.
Amen. Yes. Amen to that. Okay, we got so much to, as always, whenever you come on, I just feel, peace. Why Black History Month? Why is it so important to you?
Well, I've traveled around the world, and what I find is important to Black people in general is what I call identity. In fact, I've got about 3 or 4 poems written about identity, and I read one last night, and the Black crowd absolutely loved it. Although the second piece was about love, which people tend to love. The girls like the love piece naturally, but the boys and some girls said they identified with the first piece, because identity speaks to us as a Black people. It takes us back to a history. We're trying to discover who we are, where we came from, why are we suffering so much? What is all this thing called exploitation, colonialism, and capitalism? Why did it all happen? And unfortunately, 600 years later, past the Portuguese, we're still living with the mental chains, and we're still segregated, we're still in ghettos. But again, when we look in going back to identity, we try to associate with Africa, we try to associate with a Black Christ, we try to associate it with Black discoverers, because there have been many Black scientists. I only read recently that there was a Black emperor who actually lived in Britain. He was invited by the governor in a certain century, and he came here, and he has a picture in one of the British Museum, but they've kind of colored it like they did the picture of the Christ. So Black people try to show that Christ was Black. They try to show other people as they were, and not as history have told us. So there is always this quest for identity, to find out about a true self, or a heritage, or a richness.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's so important, and not just now, that we don't just define ourselves in terms of Black people based on slavery. There's rich history prior to and during, and we
Yes.
must immerse ourselves in that discovery and celebrate those things as well.
Yes, and people are doing that. I'm hearing it a lot in poets. They're not necessarily talking about slavery, but of the great inventions and the contributions of Black people, including some Indian people too, which we
Absolutely.
put in a similar category. It is only then I find that they can move on. I mean, my spiritual teacher teaches the philosophy of oneness. Oneness is too deep for many of my friends. Oneness is basically an interconnected world, a one thread of love running
Amen.
through all things. But my experience with many Blacks is that they have to go through this identity process before they arrive at that point of interconnectedness.
Absolutely. Okay, let's start with the richness that you bring every time that you're here, which is about your poetry. Let's start with one of your poems, which really connects, I suppose, for the Black British experience when we think of the Windrush generation. Let's hear your first poem. What's it called?
You know, I like fancy titles. I call it because I'm a poet, right? I call this one Butterfly Heroes. Life is an evolutionary miracle in which progress is inevitable. Like embryos of struggle, we burn like fire in the alchemist's cocoon until we become transformed into a pageantry of butterfly heroes. I was carried in flames of dauntless courage, of sacrifice, of wailing cries echoing across Africa, of transatlantic journeys and distant lands by those who showed no respect for my values, ignored my self-esteem, dignity, and humanity. I am an empress of a Nubian empire, a diaspora of kings and queens striving to show a diligence to light our peace pipes with songs of love on this alien journey. We are the quintessence of great pioneers like Kunta Kinte, Garvey, and Biko, whose strong sense of justice resonated in the souls of Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., infusing an awareness of our predicament. Fast forward to 1948, and we, a Windrush generation, sail upon turbulent waves to a once vast empire, anxious for our services to rebuild itself. Alas, discrimination and injustice betrayed our goodwill, and we learned rapidly to maneuver in sunsets, serenading the nights, waiting for the awakening of our sunrise. Yet we must celebrate, for we climb to the summit of the extraordinary, not to look down, but to inspire others to ascend, even as the fruits of our labor gradually dance with stars into the glories of the dawn, and we rose to the rhythm of Marley's lyrics, healing the numerous scars we carried along the way. We made sure we did not forget to shine like Mandela in the face of struggle, endemic issues of intolerance in many different institutions, long before the government's official apology in 2018. Yet we rose with Maya Angelou past the red thorns of prejudice, dealt with burnout, loneliness, and mental health issues, wily and proud like Mayweather, yet still undefeated. Seacole's heart danced with service and nursing skills on the ships of Crimea, long before this pandemic saw white privilege still naming new hospitals after Florence Nightingale. No one is denying that the Lady of the Lamp was instrumental to change. We're only saying, let's not forget the other lanterns. We addressed the transport crisis, brought an explosion of dance, art, and music, enriching the palette of London streets and clubs. Yes, we are butterfly heroes who started as beacons of hope, only to enter into a dark cocoon of loneliness and uncertainty. Yet we emerge victorious like the butterfly, self-givingly imparting a kaleidoscope of colors, soaring over rainbows, oceans, and horizons, our souls dancing with the rising sun.
Ah, the lantern. Butterfly. I'm a butterfly hero.
You are. You are.
We all are. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my, that is gold. But
Yes,
so
we all are.
descriptive.
we've
are
come
all
from a very
butterfly
dark place of
heroes.
struggle and we emerge like the butterfly. You see?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. See,
Indeed.
I love what you do because how you merge so many different themes historically and not
Yeah,
just historic, but also present as well.
yeah.
When you
Indeed,
talk about
indeed.
coming through the pandemic and all
Yes,
those things that have come from that and come to the
yes,
surface.
yes,
And like that pressure on the cocoon, as you say, on the butterfly,
yes,
then to rise, as you
yes.
talked of Maya Angelou. Right? See, I got it all. I just like I love what you I love what you do.
You've certainly been listening.
Of course, I'm listening. It's one good thing about being a radio host. I have to listen. I have to listen very well.
Follow Trevor now on Instagram @OfficialTBN Show.